I think I'm live. All right, all right. I am live. Okay. One moment. We're going to get Regina Warren in here. We're going to get this conversation going. So one moment here. Let's see. Let's see. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. One moment here. Let's see. I think I got to request it. Let's see. One moment. Bam. Let me get it going here. We're going to get this worked out. Hold on, let's see how I do this. Let's see here. There we go. Gotcha. Check. Check and check. Okay. Bringing it in. Add. Okay. Did that work? Adding. Let's see. Let's see if it's working. Yay! Girl, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it.
We did it. We did it.
All right. How are you doing today?
I'm good, lady.
Good. Well, I'm excited to get this going today. So we get to talk about confidence and vulnerability. So part two of our conversation. So to get going here, I really appreciate you supporting me on this journey. It's been fun. It's definitely been fun. Definitely being able to tell my journey and getting out there and just, really talking about domestic violence and the importance of being safe and surviving that. But before we get going, because I want to learn a lot from you today, I want to kind of explain the purpose to anyone who's watching about the Who Wants to Take Myra on a Date. Because this has been interesting, right? This whole concept that I came up with. And even though I got some coaching on it and some ideas on how to make this happen, the response has been either or. So that's been kind of interesting, So I wanted to explain it just a little bit, the purpose behind it. Because for me, this concept, all I'm really trying to do, as you know, is raise funds to solidify the Alexander in September for a women's empowerment retreat for survivors of domestic violence. And had to think of creative ways to do that. And one thing about it is with the hashtag Who Wants to Take Myra on a Date, it's really more about the principle behind what I've experienced and using it as a teachable moment. Because with what I've been through, I was in a state where being within the Christian religion that I was raised in, being a witness, when I divorced, we talked about that, I was punished for that, for divorcing. But also that meant that I couldn't move forward with my life due to biblical teachings and things of that nature. Not to judge. I always say that I'm not judging. I'm not talking bad about faith. This is just my experience, my story. So I couldn't date or, entertain another individual. And I lived in this space for 4 years. So when I learned that, wait a minute, I could move on, and that actually I could have moved on months and months ago. Well, I definitely had an issue with that because I felt like, you know what, that was every minute, every second, and every month that I lived in a space that I didn't have to live in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it was a control thing. I just think it was, I just don't really care, So that's really the purpose of kind of Who Wants to Take Myra on a Date, to use that as a teachable moment, but also to bring awareness to the issue. Because a lot of women live in similar situations, and also to get donations and sponsors. So it doesn't have to be a person who wants to take me on a date, maybe a female who just wants to donate, great. Sponsors, great, accepting all of that to book the Alexander for September. So that's the goal, what I'm trying to do. So definitely. So that's that. now I'm ready to hear from you, so I'm gonna shut up.
No, thank you for explaining it.
Thank you, Queen. So yeah, so vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's something that what I was thinking about.
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes I have like vulnerability patches where I feel a certain way, but
Okay.
you know.
What do you mean?
Well, I think that within this healing process and within this journey that I've been through, I have my good days, my bad days. And like we said before, healing takes time. So I feel like sometimes I go through these moments where it's like little spurts of things that I thought that I felt good about or was okay with. Makes me feel like, my goodness, I guess. Okay, here's one situation, right?
Okay.
Just feeling when I look at myself in the mirror and I think about who I used to be, I'm so different than who I used to be. And I hate that in my early adulthood that I accepted so much from an abusive situation. And I look at myself and I'm going, you really didn't deserve that. You really. So I feel like that's a vulnerability patch
Mhm.
because even though I'm not upset at my ex for that, it's about accepting the fact that I allowed it to happen to me. So things of that nature that were
Mhm.
really, 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 really bad.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like when those things come up, it's like, Myra, you really didn't deserve that. Come on now, you took that, you didn't deserve that. So I feel like that's like a vulnerability patch that just kind of comes back and you're like, you know.
Mhm. Mhm. So one of the when I think about vulnerability, I think it's more of accepting some of your weaknesses. So I was just talking to a high school class the other day about your strengths and your weaknesses. And I think
Right.
the best way to live life is to accept both. Because that's, I mean, that's just what God did. God gave us both strengths and weaknesses. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but that's why we have good and bad in the world. There's a balance. And God knows why He created a balance. But sometimes, if you don't understand that balance in yourself, we end up running into those traps. I was one of those people that didn't accept my weaknesses, didn't accept the fact that I had some vulnerable moments, and other people exploited those. Um, and so I had to start accepting my weaknesses, start realizing that, hey, yeah, maybe the first time is his fault, but the more that I allow myself to be a welcome mat to other people, now it's my fault. I need to start seeing what's going on with inside Regina. Um, and that way start
Right.
working through it. So when we talk about vulnerability, we're talking about those weaknesses, right? Those weaknesses,
Okay.
embracing those. For me, one of my weaknesses is the fact that I do like attention. I mean, I do. I like when my husband gives me attention. Before him, any male that was giving me any kind of attention, it was very interesting for me. And so I had to dig deep in why I was accepting that attention. And what it was is it was something from my past, be it family members that I wanted to be around me. So now that a guy came in to fill that void, that felt interesting. So the way I move forward now with my, marriage, and that attention seeking is still there. It didn't go anywhere. So what I had to do is I had to start giving my own self attention. I had to start figuring out what can I do. I mean, it's a weakness. It's a vulnerable moment for me. It's something that's not. A lot of women don't like to talk about their vulnerabilities, but for me, it was the fact that I wanted attention. So I started to take myself out to movies. I started to take, my husband may have been too busy. My husband may have been, and then here I am bringing him, hey, you need to take me out and you need to do this and you need to do that. And he's like, oh, chill out, and it just made things worse. So I had to start accepting the fact that I had that type of a need, and I actually started to, so with that said, like I had to accept who I was, good, bad, indifferent, and then I start working off of those. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I also think it's kind of interesting that like you mentioned that you did this during your marriage. You went deep at that point because you've been in this great marriage for 12 years and you realized that you needed to take yourself out. That I really appreciate that. because I think sometimes people think you get married, everything's so great or so great. I mean, of course, my situation was, definitely abusive, but I just kind of think that that's kind of really interesting that it's okay to do that in a marriage, right? It's that's the it's okay if he's busy, take yourself out, right?
Take yourself out.
He's got things he's doing too. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And being okay with that and being okay in that space. So yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Now, if he ain't doing nothing and taking me out and trying to wine and dine me, then there might be a problem. But just because he may not do it this time doesn't mean that he's a terrible person. It just means that he's busy right now. I need to give him space, because the moment that I'm busy with what I'm doing, he's going to have to figure out something too, And so that's just an example of trying to conquer some vulnerabilities. Other vulnerabilities a lot of women have, I think, one, yes, accepting yourself and your weaknesses, your strengths. But sometimes we're overly strong. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's some strengths that God gave us, and we don't even want to use some of those strengths because we feel as if it will dominate the relationship. I think that it's okay to be strong, Yeah, it is a big echo going on.
Is it echo? You hear echo?
So, but I don't know. She said it's a big echo. Is there a big echo for you? I don't know if you want to turn down your volume.
One second. Let me turn this fan real quick.
Okay.
I'm coming, girl. Okay, let's see. I turned off the fan, so hopefully that works. Is that working? Does that sound better? I had like a fan, like in the background.
Hello.
Kind of going off. But okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe that's what it was. Like, I don't know. Why do I even have on the heat? It's nice outside, so maybe that's what it was. Okay. So yep. Okay. Vulnerability. Uh-oh. I must have hit something. Wait a minute, guys. We're going to pull it back. Let's see. All right. Let's see. We're going to pull it back. Here we go. It's adding. It's coming. It's coming. Can you see me?
Yeah. I can see you.
Try to. Let's get it. All right. See, we got it. Okay. It's on you, Queen.
So no, I would say, the definition of vulnerable is really just being in a position to where people can hurt you. A lot of people think that when I start to love, I open myself up to pain. So I think when we break down what love means to each other, I think we can kind of explain it a little bit better. Especially in a relationship, what does that mean for me being a woman, Regina, in that relationship? And then what does love mean for him, or my partner, how does he feel? What is love to him? And understanding what that is. And then once we have an understanding, that minimizes people getting their feelings hurt, but at the same time, it's gonna happen, but when we talk about extreme cases such as, domestic violence, that's different. I think that I had to really just I had to start looking at my relationships, because my first couple of relationships were very abusive. They were
Really?
mentally, they were verbally.
Really? Okay.
Yep, they were. And I think mostly because I was insecure at that time. I can't blame everything on myself though. I have to start, saying, hey, no, something's wrong with him, and something was wrong with those people,
Right.
And then once
Right.
I
I appreciate you
identified what
saying
my
that.
issues were, what their issues were, I actually just left the situation alone. It was hard, but I think when you start to look at what your vulnerable moments are, what is the time that you actually feel as if you are about to be in pain? And I gave an example of me when I felt like I needed attention. Because the moment that I felt like I needed attention and he's not giving that, then now my feelings is hurt. Does that make sense? Because he's not giving me that attention. And so I think we need to start asking ourselves, so what are those vulnerable moments for me? What do I need? What does love look like for me?
Right. Right. I definitely understand
So what
that.
does love
And I
look
guess
like for you?
that's a big, what does love look like for me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Definitely mutual respect.
Okay.
Mutual respect is so important, especially after going through the situation I've been through, because for years I just felt so disrespected. And I feel like I was taught to disrespect myself, meaning,
Mm-hmm.
within
I
my
like that.
journey, there's a period of time where we were on this like off and on type of thing. And I had left him alone for a while to, get myself together spiritually. But well-meaning family and friends made me feel like you ought to be glad he wants to marry you. You need to let him back in your life. So
Mm-hmm.
I was taught to disrespect myself. And honestly, that's really been the theme of the situation in all these years that we were dealing with each other. So much was put on Myra, and not enough was put on him as being accountable, as being the man. When I was younger, it was like, because I had children out of wedlock, it was like, oh, she's fast, she's this, she's that. And like I said, when I finally got the courage to leave him alone for a span of time, because I was going to domestic abuse counseling services and things like that, but well-meaning family and friends, made me feel like you need to let him back in. And also, you need to be glad he want to be with you. So I feel like that was definitely conditioned within me to accept disrespect. I mean, and the thing that makes me upset, or I guess here's a vulnerable patch, is the fact that no one ever thought to ask me, well, exactly what kind of things did y'all go through before? Because maybe this is not a good situation. Because it was some really, really messed up stuff that I had went through that even gets to you, in your brain. Like literally, I mean, even seeing like a videotape, you know what I mean? We were living together and discovering this, and I watched it, and just the effect that that had on me. And knowing that I still married him in time afterward, knowing the things that he was capable of and knowing the level of disrespect that he would have. So when we got married, thinking that, oh, he's a Christian man, certain things are going to change. And don't get me wrong, some things change, but definitely not enough. Of course, I was being physically abused. Of course, I was being emotionally abused, mentally abused, all kinds of things. So what does love look like to me? Definitely mutual respect. Mutual respect. And I need to be able to trust you, because how can I love you like I'm supposed to if I can't trust you? If I can't trust you, how can I love you like I'm supposed to? That's what I think.
Mm.
Looking
I like
looking at
that.
everything I've been through,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's like, how can I, because I can't give myself to you completely in any form, you know what I mean? In any form, not even in, the marital bed. If I can't trust you, I can't even be free anywhere
Mhm.
without that trust. So definitely mutual respect and trust, because that's, a big foundation for love and loving somebody.
So at
That's what I think I've learned.
any point, one of the things you said was is there was there was a point where you said that you noticed that one, you couldn't trust them, right? But then it was like the
Yeah.
mutual respect. Why was I always attacked, right? Why was I always the one that basically had to be the mature one? But I mean, why do you think that there was something that may have sparked some of those issues, or that you may have seen it before it got to being serious? Like,
I mean, there's
were there
always the
like any signs? I know, like looking back now, you could say, yup, 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 yup. But I'm talking about when it was in the moment, were there any things like internally that was like, okay, this can't be right, but I'm gonna do it anyway?
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think you
I felt
always
that way
know.
before too. I did.
You
I felt that
always
way before
know.
too. And the thing is at that moment when I felt that's when I was vulnerable. That moment of accepting that pain, knowing that I should not accept it, was not okay. And I think as any partner that's in a domestic violence type of situation, as soon as you get that feeling, I would say listen to it. And that's the moment that you're vulnerable, and you have to figure out why you're vulnerable. Because what for me, the reason I was accepting that was because of the attention. Does that make sense? Because I was still getting the attention that because it was maybe a blow up and then flowers. You know what I'm saying? In these
Yeah,
previous
that's
relationships.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It was
yeah,
it was
yeah.
always the pain and then the reward. And the reward to me outshined the pain. And I had to stop and say, well, Regina, why are you accepting this to begin with? What is it
Absolutely.
that is making you feel as if this is okay and it's not? And you know it's not because you feel it. You even said to yourself, this can't be right. You know, this
Right.
even though I've never been in a relationship, this is like I said, past relationships. And you know, that's one of the things that I think as any individual, I want to say women, but I feel there's men too that go through domestic violence too, because there's narcissistic women out there too. And so with that
Absolutely.
said, I would say
Non-believers
it's
say.
time to start allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but know how to control yourself at the same time. You have to be able to say, yes, I need attention and I want to be loved, but if the moment that you're not giving this to me doesn't mean that I shut down. It just means that I need to start guarding myself a little bit more. It means I need to start looking to see, well, when he does this, let me have this conversation with him and say, hey, I don't like it. I don't like when you do this. Now, his perception is a whole different story, and y'all probably need counseling at that point. But I would say identify where you're vulnerable and then start working through that. Sometimes our vulnerability is tied to childhood issues too.
Yeah, I definitely know in my case that it is, because I have the sexual assault from my childhood,
Mhm.
that never got dealt with, unfortunately, and to be in a situation where I was constantly seeing my attacker, whether he was coming over and playing basketball with my brothers, I know that had a big issue on why I acted out as a teenager and why I got into this toxic relationship, and it was just like
Yeah.
claws pretty much. Yeah, it never got dealt with.
Hmm.
So that's hard.
I
That's hard.
know.
But back then I didn't know. I didn't realize, I didn't even
Hmm.
know how much that still hurt me until
Hmm.
I turned like 30. And I was like, oh my
Hmm.
goodness, vulnerability patch. I'm
Hmm.
feeling really, really not good about this. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's time to identify those moments. And I think moving forward into your new relationship, I would definitely start looking at that. It's okay to be vulnerable. All of us have those moments. It's okay. Like I think that's another issue too, is we trying to clam up and guard so tough that we're not allowing ourselves to love. The problem is when you're not dealing with that vulnerable moment and you're not dealing with it or understanding it, digging deep to understand what's going on. Now that you know that maybe it's tied to a past trauma, now you know that you probably could go get help for that. You know what I'm saying? So you could deal with that and
Right.
then still be like, hey, this has happened to me. I can't erase the past. I can't do that. But what I can do is accept where I'm at right now, get whatever training, therapy, medical attention, whatever I need to do so I can be my best person for my future husband or future partner.
Yeah, I definitely am
Hmm.
pro medical, like
Oh
professional
yeah,
help.
yeah, yeah.
I definitely, am about that, and thank goodness I've actually been through that journey before. And
See,
one thing that I
and
feel is so beautiful, yeah,
yeah,
and I'm not, I mean, I'm not like I'm open about it. I mean, it was hard to be open
yeah.
about it because of the stigma, but I do. I mean, I suffer from PTSD, because of all the trauma. But one
Hmm.
thing that was so beautiful about my journey is, when I was going through that road, and the professional that I was dealing with learned, you wrote a book. She said, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be just fine. So that meant a lot to me because I knew how to, for me, motivational speaking and speaking about it and helping other people is such a big part of my healing process as
It
well.
is. It is.
Because people have to be, okay, this stuff does happen. And even when I was, I told you I was on the air the other day.
Okay.
And when we were off the air, like a segment, I got asked that question. I said, oh, yeah, I have PTSD. Things can happen when you just going through too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like you said, you get the help you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then to understanding, when I'm ready to move forward in a new relationship, that you got to understand that this comes along with me, that it is something that's not going to be solved overnight, and I'm just hoping that everything that I'm doing with all that I'm trying to do, and I appreciate you so much, Queen, I do, that people are hearing the message and that it's making, a difference. You know what I mean? Because actually in the conference in September, I'm going to talk very openly about PTSD. And even like my very first flashback, I didn't know what was going on. And then learned that that's, what was going on. So, it's tough.
I'm glad
but it's hard when you feel. I missed it. I'm sorry.
No, I said I'm glad you're talking about it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important. But I had to learn to be okay about it because, I have children and I had to let them know that, mom has this and this is the situation. And sadly, this is why. And helping them to understand the importance of being emotional and intelligent. I always say, guys, you gotta be emotional intelligent. We gotta be emotional intelligent. We gotta talk. We gotta get whatever we need to be healthy, because I do not want you guys going into your adulthood having a whole lot of issues. So let's go ahead and get everything together now. And we're working through those processes to come on, guys, let's get ourselves together, because I don't want you going into your adulthood being, not being emotionally intelligent. And sometimes I think that it can run in families because some people go through trauma and don't get PTSD. Right. So I think that's why some people can't empathize, because some people, their makeup, they don't get it, and I just have to not be ashamed by it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So I totally understand PTSD. Being in the military for the past 21 years, we experience it too on different levels. And so it's not fun. It is definitely something that kind of creeps up and manifests as it ages. And so the sooner you can go get help, the better. So if anybody's listening, please continue to go get help. Talk to the people you love about it. And then, like Myra's saying, like, hey, we got to be open about it. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Myra, about that, because I had to check myself in at the VA because of PTSD and different depression things that I was going through from the military. Let alone the verbal abuse that I received and other issues that I had. Oh my God, it was enough. And for me, it was time for me to wake up. Like you said, it was time for me to be like, you know what? Let me be free in my space. Let me enjoy who I am. Let me go get the therapy, and let me try to help other people. And let me try to love myself and other people a little bit deeper. On genuine foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I think we're getting close to that time though. We got a couple more minutes.
Okay. I was looking
I got kid pickup. Do you have kid pickup today?
You said what?
I got kid pickup. Do you have kid pickup today? Oh no, it happened again. This thing keeps kicking us off. We're gonna fix it though. Let's see here. I see everybody out there. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support. Let me see here. One moment. We're going to see if we can bring it back real quick and do a little close here. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where you go? Let me see if I can bring you back in. Let's see. Let's see where you at. I don't know if it's going to work for me this time. Let's see. If not, we're going to close it out because I got kid pickup time here coming up short. Oh, there we go. Check. Let's do a close. Let's close it out. All right. Let's close it out here. Definitely. All right. There you go. All right. I was just telling everybody we're going to close it out here and everything. So, Regina, you go first. Why don't you share something about one of your upcoming events. You got a couple of upcoming events and stuff for your boot camp. I think I saw that.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh no, you can't hear me? You can't hear me? Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, one moment. Okay, no problem, no problem. We're gonna shut it down. Okay? Okay. Can I type in here? You know, let me see if I can type something. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and close it out here. I definitely appreciate everybody watching and everything. And definitely, who wants to take Myra on a date? It's more than just the date. It's definitely about the principles behind what I went through as a survivor of domestic violence and sticking towards I was going to type that out. That's okay. It's all good. But long story short, just to kind of emphasize that the whole point is I'm trying to book this Running For event in September, and I appreciate everyone's support and everyone who's helped me out, because this is not something I'm doing on my own. I have wonderful people who are here to help me along the way, along the journey, like Miss Regina Warren, who's supporting me. But definitely the hashtag Who Wants to Take Myra on a Date. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now.
All right. I was just closing it out real quick and just talking about, one more time, the Who Wants to Take Myra on a Date, to understand it's not about necessarily the date, it's about the principle behind it, and how even though I didn't have a foundation, because I walked away from my faith because it simply wasn't safe for me, I still maintained those biblical teachings and my integrity, and that means something to me. And as a matter of fact, one thing I didn't tell you this.
What's that?
I did not know how things were going to end. Right? I knew that within the faith that I practiced, when you're divorced by the law of the land, you're still married in God's eyes. I knew that it was probably going to end up the way things have ended up. And I promised myself, I said, you know what, Myra? If it goes that way, because you never know, people could change, you never know, but with domestic violence, it's very, 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 very hard. It's like a 1% chance or something like that. That's not a true statistic, but it's very, very hard. It's very, very hard. So I knew it wasn't realistic. But I remember promising myself, you know what? I want to get nice and go on one date just to know what a real date feels like. And it so happens that I can use that to help bring awareness, to help get people's attention, as well as any donations from anybody and sponsors, so that I can book this event September 2022 at the Alexander, Myra's Luxurious Women's Empowerment Retreat for survivors of domestic violence and supporters. So that's how I'm going to close it out. Regina, you want to close it out with something you got going on?
Yeah. What I do it with big passion and big heart. I focus on building up confidence and platforms for women, regardless of where they come from, background, it doesn't matter. So I love going on this journey with you. Thank you so much for inviting me on this. If anyone is interested in the 360 Model Bootcamp, the 360 experience, you can definitely go to the website, 360everything.org. I do confidence through all ages, and I love what I do.
Yeah, and you do it well, Queen. You do it well. I'm a fan. I'm a fan, definitely. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. And we got one more we're going to do before the end of the month, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to get these kids, and I'll chat with you later.
All right, lady.
Okay.
All right. Bye.